Hello, and welcome back. It's good to see you now. Today, we are going to be talking about something a little bit different. If you have been thinking about moving your business onto the online space and actually selling online, then you are in the right place today, because we are going to be talking about how you can get started with your business online. Now, before we get into that, I just want to give you a quick reminder that, join in. If you have any questions, don't be afraid. Shoot us an email or shoot us a message as we're going, and we'll try and answer what we can with our specialists of the day. Now, today we are joined by Tom from Trigger, and I'm really excited to have Tom because we've had him before and he always leaves us just wanting more. Tom, welcome.
G'day Tracy, and hello everybody. Up windy, wild Auckland at the moment.
Look, I feel like, we're going into that winter period again, and it's just, we've lost summer now, haven't we?
Yep. Oh, mind you, then next week it'll be like 28 degrees and we'll be bathing in the sun again.
I wish. I absolutely wish. Now, hey, Tom, so today's topic is really around getting started online. And for you work in that digital space with lots of different small businesses.
Yep.
It's so critical to have that tool now, isn't it?
Totally, 100%. If people can't, a lot of people are using Facebook Marketplace, or they're selling in all sorts of ways they can, obviously to start up with a shoestring budget. But if you've got a really good product and you're trying to sell it online, then having the ability for someone to find your website, click click pay and purchase it all in one place, then that's really the way to go.
Yeah, and I think when we reflect on our own purchasing behavior, if something's too difficult, we just disappear, don't we?
Yeah, 100%. It's like 4 to 6 seconds for them to find your website decide, and again, that's all about how well your shopping cart's integrated with your website's really integrated well with your shopping cart, and that user journey about how fast they can find your product and buy it.
Yeah, I do think about platforms that I'm comfortable using, and COVID has made us a lot more comfortable with online purchasing. But my downfall is that the easier it is, the more I generally buy.
Yeah, well, that's why Shopify and WordPress and all these other companies and WooCommerce, and they spend small fortunes to create these ideal shopping carts that are continually being streamlined on how the users interact with them. So they're really collecting all that data, the analytical data from the interactions with it, and then streamlining themselves all the time to the best possible tool, so that you've got the best chance if you use them to get your product sold. And you're the ideal client, Tracy, because if you like them and they're easy and you buy, that's their ideal.
I know. I remember back in the day before online purchasing was a thing, and you used to hear those things around what McDonald's used to do to keep people moving through their store, like slightly tilting the seats because they wanted new people to go, those people to go and new people to come in. Yeah. It's just that whole psychology of the consumer, isn't it? Like they're constantly refining things so that people stay around for longer.
100%. And it's the same with websites. It's the same with anything, really. It's especially when you're dealing with big, even if you go to something like Airbnb, or if you use any of those online e-commerce sites, booking.com, they're continually streamlining themselves to remove any barriers and anything that doesn't contribute to the purchasing pathway. So you're getting more and more of an ideal, find it, buy it. Which in some ways is a good thing, because it means they're doing the work for you as far as getting rid of all the distractions that you might think you need to add to a website or add to a purchasing pathway, which you actually don't need to, because people are getting really savvy online and they don't want to muck around.
Yep. And I think one of the things and that I have found is that there's a certain look and feel to a really good online purchasing, and then there's the ones that don't look so good. Yeah. And you get a little bit nervous and a little bit sweaty under the collar. And I know people who have spent lots of money purchasing, mainly flight tickets, actually, where they've purchased the tickets and then gone back to try and work out where they actually spent their money.
And they can't figure it out.
They can't figure it out, yeah. But we're not going to get bogged down with that. So let's start. Yep. So first things first, what's really important when it comes to starting online?
Main thing is to have a really clear product offering. So whatever you're selling, you need to figure out what are the tangible parts of what you're selling, and are they actually a product that is sellable? Because, you know, when you've got a startup and you start your own shop or whatever you're doing, you're selling candles at the market, and then you grow it into having a Facebook marketplace, and then you want an e-commerce site. It's about how are they packaged? Are they easily viable as a shippable product? Is it how have you got them displayed, and what's your descriptions? Is it really easy for someone to find your product who has no idea about your brand and buy into the idea, the story, and then buy it? So it's like the basics of anything, really. I mean, it's still back to the basics of a Facebook post or whatever your business Facebook page, even those basics. It's how are you attracting people to your brand and what you're creating, and how and what's that experience like for them?
Yeah, and also nowadays visuals. So there's nothing that bugs me more that when you go to look at a product and then it's got that no view available, and you can't even look at what you're wanting to buy, but they might be asking, you know, for some stupid amount of money, and you know that it's probably worth that, but you just want to have a look at it for safekeep.
Yeah, I agree. And whatever product you're selling, it's the same with whether you're selling an accommodation, or you're selling pots of jam, or you're selling vegetable parcels, or whatever you're selling online. It's about the quality of the images too, because I mean, we've all gone to websites that are e-commerce, and you're thinking about, oh, maybe I'll get that screwdriver set or whatever it is, and you go to the images and it's a bit out of focus, and it's kind of on a strange angle, and you can't see more than one image, and you kind of think, maybe I'll go to Bunnings and check it out, because it's that whole, is it seamless? Is the product really well displayed? Does it look really professional? It's all about that image, and that first contact you have with how it looks. It kind of in your brain triggers whether you trust it or not.
Oh, totally. And I think that if someone's not taken the effort to put nice imagery of a product, and that be even in services, you know, if we think about travel as well, you know, if that's a service, so just lovely imagery of what you're going to be purchasing or what you're going to be experiencing as a result. It takes a certain type of person to push past that barrier. I think the majority of us go, oh, that's not suitable for me, or it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and we're bombarded with so many choices now, which is why you really have to make sure it's perfect, because we automatically judge on the experience we've had with the big websites about how ideal it should be. So when you get a small website and the e-commerce is a little bit crusty and the images are a bit out of focus, and you know they're selling, I don't know, they're maybe selling a blouse or something they've made, but you can only see the front, and there's no side image or someone wearing it, and you can't get any concept of it. You kind of go, okay, well, let's go back to Etsy or whatever that mass website is and see one which has got 18 images of someone wearing it.
Yeah. No, that's really true. And I think this kind of takes us into that next step of shopping carts, because from a product, we also know we need to be making sure that they're following that nice flow. So they've got the product, but shopping carts also comes with different platforms and what is out there for us to use. So let's just talk about that. Let's just talk about these shopping carts.
Okay. Well, just about there's many shopping carts out there. I mean, the big ones that we all know of is WooCommerce, which is a plugin designed for WordPress websites. And if you've got a WordPress website already, then it might be easy to get your developer just to plug in WooCommerce and then get it up and running. You need a payment gateway, and normally they connect with Stripe, or they connect with PayPal, or they connect with those sort of payment gateways. Shopify is massive. Great platform, really easy to do. They have lovely templates. You can start cheaply. There's so many out there that are, I mean, we work with Shopify. We've embedded Shopify we work with a platform called WordPress, which has its own e-commerce. But we've actually researched and found that for us, Shopify really delivers a really sexy little shopping cart that's really easy for the clients to use and really easy to set up. And they've spent years and years building this incredible platform so that you don't have to muck around with all the little fiddly bits, and you literally load in your product, load in your description, load in your images, and boom, you're off. Connected to a payment gateway, you have to set that up, obviously. So there's so many out there. It's just a matter of researching around and finding. They're all much of a muchness. Price-wise, they're only a little bit of difference. But it's a matter of you need to get, if you've already got a WordPress website you don't want to change, then it might be WooCommerce that you plug in. If you don't have anything, you might want to have a look at Shopify because of the templates. You can actually set up a template site and everything else, and it's all built in and really easy to operate. If you've got a Webflow website, then you might want to just switch on the Webflow e-commerce, but there are limitations with that because it's not really their area of expertise.
Yep.
So it's just a matter of doing a bit of research and maybe talking to an expert about, this is what I want to do, what would you recommend?
I think it's a good question because we're watching more and more small businesses actually put everything on the Shopify platform. So the website is Shopify. So it's all together. So it makes it really, really easy. And that's really for those small businesses that don't necessarily have the funds to go and get professional advice from someone like yourself, right?
Yeah.
But I also know that there's other, and you've just mentioned there's lots of other platforms. I know Wix has its own shopping cart platform, and so does Squarespace. They all have them. But when we're looking at them, when we're looking like for like, in a sense, Shopify is really that granddaddy. It's done all the hard work for us. We know it's super slick, right?
It is.
And it also can be used as a point of sale system as well.
Yep.
And it's great at managing inventory. But then we get a little bit unstuck sometimes when we go with these cheaper or untested platforms. And it's really, like you just said, it's about doing our homework before we integrate something, because you could start off thinking, I've got to do this on the smell of an oily rag. But then when I actually get to the crutch of it, it's not going to deliver what I want, which Shopify in many cases does.
Yeah. And, and Tracy, just to carry on from that, there's a global, I think it's called Capterra, and there's global review platforms where you can actually log in, or you don't have to log in, you just pull in the URL and have a look at the website. And it basically, they're review platforms about every kind of conceivable kind of software in the world that's available, every system, everything. And you can have a look, you can type in e-commerce in the search bar and it'll pull up the top rating e-commerce platforms and what people are saying about them. And you can have a look at whichever one is number one or number two. Some of them you might find are made in Europe or America, and you might want to, but that doesn't matter. But it'll show you the reviews and what their rating is and what they offer and what their price range is. And it's a really kind of nice third-party way of doing a bit of research without having to dig too deep.
Yeah. And I've actually used that for lots of different pieces of software when I have been doing my own research or for clients. I think it's great because it actually just gives you that raw approach. You either love it or you hate it, as in this piece of software was great or it didn't do its job at all.
Yeah, 100%. Which is really good because you can also get the users and what they're saying about it. So sometimes you have to scroll through all the lovely ones because often they've gone and promoted themselves to get a review. But if you go see, I always look at the negative ones to see were the negative ones really legitimate, or maybe there's only 3 or 4, or maybe there's lots and you can see a continuing error. And you might go, it looks like the payment gateway pulls out all the time, or it looks like there is issues on displaying the images and they haven't resolved that. So you might want to just then go to the website of the software itself and go to their forum and ask them if they actually resolve the issues on the images, so that you go in with your eyes open, that you're going to get what you want.
Yeah. Now I've got a few questions for you. So in my time, I've had my own experience with shopping carts and working with clients. And there's always interesting how some people will look at a shopping cart, whether or not you have to sign up as a member before you get to the shopping cart. That good old, let's get all their details before they actually put their credit card in.
Yeah.
What's your thought on that?
I think that's outdated.
Yep.
I think people will see that as a spammy kind of website and they'll avoid it like the plague, because we're well past the day of really urgently needing to grab everyone's information. And we're all very wary of being spammed. And we know damn well that as soon as they get your email address, you're going to end up with 16 spam emails in your junk mail that you're going to end up having to unsubscribe to in a month.
Yeah, I agree. We don't like to. No.
Just an example of that is like when you walk into a store and they go, would you like to join our mailing list? And you get great discounts. And I always go, no, because you want my email address. And you know what? Because literally that's all they're buying when they do that.
That's exactly right. We just don't like it when they resell our email addresses, because you can't work out how this junk mail got into your inbox.
That's right. And the moment you say yes to that, you're basically letting them do whatever they want to do with your email address.
Yep.
And it's the same with a website. It's like pop-ups. So pop-ups on websites, join our mailing list and get 20%. They used to be big about 2 or 3 years ago, and then Google realized that it's actually interrupting the user flow with websites, so they started penalizing you for using them. So the old pop-up that everyone has that we all hate, that pops up and interrupts your flow with a website, get rid of them. Just let people buy your product, and then maybe follow up with a really nice email saying, fantastic, you bought the product with us. Let us know how you get on. We'd love a review. We'd love your feedback.
Yep. No, I agree. Now, another one that I find interesting, and some platforms allow you to, they don't have this shortfall and some do, is that when you go in to look at products, you have to buy one product at a time versus creating a shopping cart.
Yep.
Thoughts on that?
I guess it depends on the kind of product you're selling. But yeah, I think it should be, you absolutely need a shopping cart nowadays, because otherwise you're making it, again, a barrier to people buying more than one product. They're not going to go in and buy one product, pay for that product, go back, buy another product. It's like someone saying, okay, you've come into Farmers or wherever it is, and you want 5 t-shirts, but you're only allowed to buy one each time. Then you've got to go outside the shop, come back in, choose the next one and play. And then you've got to go outside the shop, come back in, choose. Who's going to do that? They're going to go, you're bonkers.
I know. I have to admit that I had a few parking fines and I had to pay them, and I wish I could have just done them all in one transaction, but I had to pay each one individually and then go back in. So the councils haven't caught on with that.
Was that over the space of 5 years though?
No, it was a space of 2 weeks, unfortunately. I just had a bad run. So that's really interesting. Okay, so we move on from shopping carts and then we go into payments and payment gateways.
And payment gateways. So the cool thing about, and again, I'm not working for Shopify. Don't get me wrong, I don't get any commission for this. But we've recently set up a Shopify cart, and we were looking at using Stripe, because Stripe is really global and well known and it's trusted. And then we suddenly studied a forum on Webflow on Shopify, and they've actually released for New Zealand what they call Shopify payments. And what's really nice about that is it's all integrated with the Shopify payment. So you've got the shopping cart and Shopify payments. And actually, we figured it out. It actually works out cheaper using Shopify payments than actually using a third-party plugin.
Okay.
So that's a really nice little tip. If you're looking at Shopify, have a look at Shopify payments. Because otherwise they give you the choice of Stripe or PayPal.
Yep.
And either of those are fine.
And we all know the frustrations with PayPal and Stripe. Stripe's actually okay. I like Stripe because it integrates really well with Xero, but PayPal can really be a bugbear sometimes. They hold on to funds. They don't always release. Yeah.
That's right. And you have to log in sometimes if you've got an account. It's bizarre, but anyway. But PayPal is really easy to set up. That's the only plus about it, is it's really set up easy as a payment gateway. And Stripe is global, and then you've got WinCave that used to be called DPS, which they're huge and global as well. It's again a matter of researching the platform you're using, what actually connects to it, and finding out all their costs, because often their website doesn't tell you all their costs. So sometimes it's actually good to go to their chat and say, look, I'm setting up the payment gateway. What exactly are all the costs? Yeah. Which means what's the transaction costs? What does the person buying pay? What's the monthly transaction fee? What's the, there's all those little hidden fees that they add into it. Bank processing charges and all sorts of things.
Yeah. And I think sometimes people, once upon a time, you couldn't integrate you couldn't really integrate PayPal. So we were going to a merchant fee that was online with the bank, and it was stupid. It was a ridiculous price now. And now we've got these platforms that they're great because they're cost effective and it brings the price down. But the merchant fees now kind of catch us out. They
do. But I think, again, it's a matter of doing your research and making sure you find out all the information before you jump on board. Because a lot of people think, e-commerce site, and they jump in there and they sign up for a plan and they sign up for the payment gateway, and then they suddenly realize they're being charged, 4% per transaction or 4.9%. And they're like, what the hell is all that for?
Yeah.
Because when you're only a small shop and you're just starting, 4 or 5% on your it starts to eat up because you're paying, your FPOS, probably an FPOS if you've got a shop or whatever else you're paying. It starts to add up. So it's important to make sure you find out where all the costs are.
Yeah, definitely. Now, different sectors will have different ways of using different shopping carts. Now, we've been in the tourism industry for a while, so there are platforms that would actually display the product, give you your internal shopping cart, and also the payment gateway as well. And just what we've seen with Shopify, it's great for those consumable products, those clothing and things like that. But what I find interesting with our tourism friends is that it a lot of those costs really need to be investigated when you're looking at your options of how to display, how to sell online, how to distribute online. There are so many costs associated that are just so hidden, and you do not realize until you get that first bill and you're like, holy heck, I think I've made a bad choice here.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's like if you're, say if you're a tourism provider, you join up to booking.com and you pay a commission. If you use a channel manager, you pay a commission. If you've got a booking engine, you usually pay either a monthly rate or a commission. Then you've got a payment gateway on top of it. So you've got charge on charge on charge on charge. And then the online travel agents like booking.com, Agoda, and Expedia will charge you dependent on how popular your property is to be booked and what your rates are depending on what season. So the more popular you are, like what I found is the more popular you are, they sometimes drop the commission because they're making a lot of money out of you. But the least popular you are, they keep their commission whacked up because they want to make as much money out of every booking you've got. Bizarre. But yeah, again, if you're going into the tourism space, or if you are in the tourism space and you want to know more about the channels, then really go online and do your homework and find out what they're actually charging you. What's the end at the end of the line? What are you paying where?
Yeah. Because I've seen quite a vast difference between different platforms, and it comes down to any platform. And we can't reiterate this enough: is just do your research. Don't just look at how much it costs a month. Look at how much it costs a transaction. How does it go through the funnel? Because a lot of different platforms will actually charge in different places. So if we take the tourism platforms, for example, they'll take a percentage fee because you're using their platform, and then they'll take a merchant fee, and then some of them take a statement fee. And all of a sudden you've got this plus, and before you know it, it's actually quite a significant amount of money.
Right, 100%. And then you've got the OTAs like booking.com and all taking their different commission rates, and it's like chomp, 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 chomp at your profit line.
Yeah. And then if we flip it on its head and we go to other industries, so then we've got the drop shipping where we've got people that are selling online. Then there's also those costs. So if they are drop shipping, what is the cost to their relationship between the drop shipper and themselves? What are they paying? And what are all the merchant fees that they're charging? So couldn't stress, taking your words, Tom, couldn't stress more than enough to just do your homework, work it out.
Yeah. And then also about often shopping carts have limited capability on what they can do drop shipping wise. And you might have to plug in, like there's a great one in New Zealand that's been created by a company, I can't remember what it's called, but that plugs into Shopify. But again, you can use the Shopify one, but there are little restrictions on, because they do areas that you might want to go, if they're in my town, they only pay $2. But if they're in the next town, which is 20 kilometers away, they're going to pay $5. Well, unfortunately, Shopify doesn't work that way because it has set zones for New Zealand. Like local might cover a 50-kilometer radius around you, and then Wairarapa, for example, might be the next zone, and everyone in there is X amount of dollars. So you don't have a specific way of breaking it down. So then if you do want more specific, it again has to scale up that you're making enough out of your online shop, you can afford another plugin because that's the more money you've got to spend.
Yeah, and that's actually a good point, because if anyone that's doing anything with postage, it is actually quite expensive in New Zealand. And if you're servicing Auckland, then it's okay because it's a suburban, it's a CBD. But if you're servicing New Zealand and you're in a regional location, the cost of shipping is just it's excessive.
Yeah, and then the question is, do you add the cost of shipping to the item before they buy it, or do you just make clear that all shipping costs are on top, so that your cost is your cost, and they clip on the shipping on top? It depends on how you want to do it.
That's a good question. I'd love to hear what people think. Do they like the postage included, or they're happy with it on top? Because the postage can actually make or break a order. I mean, I went to order socks. I went to order socks at Christmas time as Christmas presents, and to get 2 pairs of socks delivered, it was going to cost me $22 in shipping.
Exactly,
and they're tiny, and
yeah, that's just purely from the fact that that's what it costs them to do it, not because they're making money out of it. So again, it might be a matter of you working out. Do you want drop shipping at all, or do you just want to post them out through the standard postage and just run down to the letterbox, run down to the local post office every couple of days? And again, it's quantities of scale. Where are you starting up? What's your product worth? What's your profit line? How are you ever going to make any money out of it? Or, what do you want to charge?
Yep. No, that's true. Now, Tom, we're getting close to the end, and I just want to recap a little bit here. So we started off, we were talking about the product presentation. So making sure that we know what we're selling, but also the visual aspects of it. Make sure that we've got quality images.
Yep.
And then we moved into those shopping carts and making sure that we have a shopping cart, but just doing the maths, working out what shopping cart is right for your product, and then finishing with payment gateways, or how do we take payment. Now, it's really important that you have one, because again, with anything, we just don't want to have any obstacle. We want to have a straight line to a customer buying our product, which is exactly what we need. But Tom, if someone's starting out and they're not quite sure, what kind of last minute advice would you give them if they're looking at doing online selling?
I would find someone local who's probably similar to you, not the same product, but someone who's that you feel like you can get on with, even through Facebook or whatever, and just message them saying, hey, would you be open to, me having a chat, how you set it up? Get some advice from people who've already done it, because that's the best people. The ones who've actually got a shop, who are actually using shopping carts, who've got an e-commerce website, who have got payment gateways in place. And because there's nothing like talking to someone who's actually got it in place and can give you honest feedback, because they'll tell you the pros and cons really easily.
Yep.
Because any website for any product is going to sell you the rainbows and unicorns, but it's a matter of cutting through all the rainbows and unicorns and finding out, well, what's the cold hard cost at the end of it, and is it a really great experience for my potential clients or not?
Yep, true. And I guess when you're doing what you do, building these websites, integrating Shopify, you're not necessarily the user, are you? So you're making sure that it works based on the specifications of the platform. But it is great to get that inside knowledge from people that have actually used the platform.
100%. And also, no matter what project you're doing for your own shop, whatever you're thinking of, you've always got to imagine not what you think it should be like, but what does the user at the end of it need? Because that's how you're going to sell your product. You assuming the viewpoint or the attitude of the person who's going to come to your website. What are they looking for? Because you might have this ideal world about how it all should work, but that might be just related to your actual end product or end person you want to use it. So it's important to keep that in mind as well.
No, that is gold. That is absolute gold. Hey, Tom, thank you so much for your time today. I think that for anyone that is thinking about getting started, this is a really good place to just have a listen, come back, replay this as many times as you want, because, Tom, you always leave us with some gold nuggets there. But our time is short and we have to leave. And thank you so much for joining us. So for anyone that is watching this either on our live or our replay, please like, share, tag someone in. But if you do have something that you would like us to cover, please send us a message and we will make sure that we cover it off. But until next week, stay safe. And Tom, thank you again. And we'll no doubt see you with another topic to help us out and to help those lovely people with small businesses. Until next time, everyone. See you later.
See you.
Bye.